In the dry scrub of southern Africa, an unexpected standoff unfolds around a simple hole in the ground. A honey badger emerges, low to the earth, defending a burrow that shelters her young. Nearby, a spotted hyena approaches, larger, stronger, and accustomed to taking advantage of almost any opportunity for food. Instead of fleeing, the badger closes the distance, delivering short, sharp defensive bites and refusing to yield the entrance. The hyena circles, unsure whether to push further or withdraw from an increasingly costly encounter. What makes a smaller animal hold its ground against one of Africa's most powerful carnivores? And how does this encounter end without either animal gaining what it wants? In this documentary, we explore a real interaction built from documented field observations. A honey badger defending her den while a hyena tests her resolve. This story is grounded entirely in verified animal behavior. How honey badgers protect their young, how hyenas assess risk, and why encounters like this matter in the broader ecosystem. Rather than dramatizing conflict, we look closely at survival strategies, evolutionary traits, and decision-making driven by instinct and biology. Honey badgers and hyenas both play important ecological roles, and their interactions reveal how wildlife negotiates space, energy, and risk in shared habitats. This documentary is presented for educational and informational purposes only. All content is based on real-world animal behavior, supported by scientific research, ecological studies, and verified observations from reputable wildlife organizations and natural history sources. No information is fabricated, fictionalized, or exaggerated. Before we continue, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to support the channel and help us bring more nature stories to life. The scene begins not with confrontation, but with landscape. Open savanna merges into patches of thorn scrub and abandoned aardvark burrows, prime real estate for many small carnivores. Honey badgers often use these burrows as dens, expanding them or modifying them to rear their young safely underground. A female honey badger has chosen one such den. Her investment is high. Weeks spent nursing, limited foraging range, and frequent returns to the burrow entrance. Anything approaching too closely becomes a potential threat, whether it intends harm or not. A lone spotted hyena moves through the area. Hyenas are opportunistic feeders, constantly evaluating their surroundings for easy meals, abandoned carcasses, or vulnerable animals. The scent of the den and the activity around it trigger investigation. It is not guaranteed prey, but worth checking. The hyena approaches with measured steps. It does not rush. Instead, it pauses, listening and testing the air. The badger emerges partway, body low and compact, issuing warning vocalizations and short lunges. Honey badgers are known for defensive persistence. They do not rely on size, but on toughness of skin, ability to twist and bite while being held, and a willingness to make approaching animals reconsider the risk. The hyena edges closer, jaw held slightly open, reading signals. Its decision is not emotion-driven. It is an ecological calculation. A serious bite or injury could compromise its ability to feed or travel with its clan. The badger's rapid bites toward the muzzle and forelimbs increase the cost. The hyena hesitates, a pause that changes the encounter. Will it commit to testing the badger further, or redirect its search for food elsewhere? The answer shapes the next moments around the den. Behavioral and ecological analysis. Honey badgers, Mellivora capensis, are relatively small carnivores, but they possess several key adaptations that make them effective den defenders. Their skin is thick and loosely attached, allowing them to twist and bite even when held. Their strong forelimbs and claws help them dig rapidly, escape into burrows, or modify tunnels. Defensive biting and persistent lunging are common strategies meant to deter rather than to start prolonged combat. Spotted hyenas, Crocuta crocuta, in contrast, are larger and endowed with strong jaw strength. However, unlike popular portrayal, they rarely risk unnecessary injury. Their survival relies on energy-efficient foraging and careful assessment of risk versus reward. When facing smaller but highly defensive animals, hyenas often choose to disengage because the potential injury outweighs potential gain. Unlike many predators that rely primarily on speed to escape danger, honey badgers rely on resilience and threat display combined with a secure refuge underground. And unlike obligate hunters such as cheetahs, hyenas are flexible generalists. Abandoning a risky opportunity does not significantly jeopardize their survival, as they can scavenge or hunt elsewhere. Environmental conditions also shape this interaction. In open savannas with many alternative food sources, hyenas are more likely to back off. During harsher seasons, they may push farther, but the basic rule remains. Risk calculation governs behavior. At the den mouth, both animals follow evolutionary logic, not emotion. One defends a reproductive investment. The other evaluates whether persistence is worth injury. The standoff is a product of energy budgets, anatomy, and natural selection, and it is still unresolved. The standoff lengthens. In nature, many encounters are not sudden clashes, but careful negotiations of distance and determination. Minutes can pass with very little visible movement, while both animals gather information through scent, posture, and subtle shifts. The honey badger holds the den entrance like a physical line. She advances only as far as necessary, then retreats just enough to keep the tunnel behind her accessible. This spacing is deliberate. The burrow remains the ultimate refuge, and it also limits how many directions she can be approached from. The hyena circles downwind. Spotted hyenas are highly scent-oriented mammals, and odors around burrows can reveal whether a den is active, whether young are present, and whether other predators have passed through recently. The scent of dependent young increases interest, but it also signals a determined parent nearby. The hyena probes closer again, lowering its head toward the burrow entrance. The response is immediate. The badger lunges forward in short bursts, delivering quick bites and claw swipes intended to discourage contact rather than start a prolonged struggle. These brief, targeted bites are one of the badger's key defensive tools. They're fast, unpredictable at close range, and difficult for a larger animal to counter without exposing sensitive areas. A new factor enters the scene: sound. From deeper inside the burrow, faint vocalizations confirm the presence of cubs. The hyena pauses. In many documented cases, potential predators retreat, not because they are intimidated, but because parental defense turns a low-effort investigation into a high-risk encounter. The badger escalates her defense by widening her stance at the entrance and continuing to nip forward each time the hyena tests the boundary. Her goal is not pursuit. It is simply to increase cost. The message in biological terms is clear. This resource will require effort and risk. Hyenas are capable of persistence when the reward is certain. But here, uncertainty dominates. The den structure prevents easy access. The adult badger has not yielded ground. No visual confirmation of vulnerable young is possible without entering the burrow, a space where the hyena's size becomes a disadvantage. The hyena takes a final slow step forward, then shifts its weight back and turns slightly away, still watching. The tension remains. Will it leave entirely or attempt one last investigation from a different angle? The outcome is still unresolved, and in the quiet of the savanna, both animals continue their cautious assessment. As the afternoon heat builds, the dynamics shift from direct confrontation to patience. In the wild, time itself is often a tool. Neither animal rushes. Both conserve energy while staying alert. The honey badger settles just inside the entrance now, only her head and shoulders visible. This position allows her to block passage while keeping the tunnel behind her secure. Honey badgers frequently use the architecture of the burrow as part of their defense, creating narrow spaces where larger animals cannot easily maneuver. The hyena increases the distance, moving several body lengths away before slowly circling back. This is not retreat in a human sense, it is reassessment. Spotted hyenas commonly test boundaries, withdraw, and then reapproach from a slightly different direction to gather more information. Each slow approach is accompanied by pauses, listening for movement beneath the ground. Wind direction changes. A light breeze now carries the scent of other animals, antelope, smaller mammals, and distant members of the hyena's own clan. The hyena stands still for a moment, weighing options shaped by instinct. Remain here with uncertainty or redirect its efforts toward more predictable opportunities. The badger's behavior remains consistent. Each time the hyena drifts closer, she pushes forward with brief bites and snaps, then retreats to the threshold. She does not chase, and she does not abandon the den. Her movements are economical, reflecting an animal that must balance defense with the need to conserve energy for nursing and future foraging. A small but important development follows. The hyena lies down briefly, head resting on its forelimbs, still facing the den. This is a common behavior when evaluating whether waiting might yield access. Some predators obtain food not by force, but simply by remaining nearby until a situation changes. However, nothing changes here. The den remains sealed by a determined adult. No careless emergence occurs. No opportunity appears. Gradually, the hyena rises and begins to walk away at an angle, pausing once to look back. It does not rush off, and it leaves no obvious sign of defeat. It simply reallocates effort to the wider landscape, where scavenging and hunting chances are plentiful. The badger stays at the entrance long after the hyena has moved out of sight, listening for returning footsteps and other threats. Only later will she fully relax and retreat deeper into the burrow. Yet the story of this den is not finished. The landscape holds more challenges: other predators, shifting seasons, and the daily need to find food while protecting young underground. How will this honey badger continue balancing defense with survival in such a competitive ecosystem? Evening approaches slowly in the savanna. As daylight softens, more animals become active, and the balance of who holds advantage changes. Many species adjust their behavior to temperature and light, and both honey badgers and hyenas are comfortable moving under cover of darkness. The honey badger now faces a familiar problem for denning carnivores. She must eventually leave to forage. Nursing requires energy, and energy must be gathered from a wide range of food sources: insects, small vertebrates, roots, bulbs, reptiles, and carrion when available. But every trip away from the den creates a temporary vulnerability. She listens at the entrance before emerging fully. Honey badgers are known for methodical caution when they have dependent young, often making short excursions at first, staying close enough to return quickly if needed. The den site itself, chosen for multiple escape tunnels and solid soil, provides a degree of safety even when she is not immediately present. Elsewhere on the plain, the same spotted hyena continues its routine, traveling long distances through its range during a typical night. Spotted hyenas often cover several kilometers in search of feeding opportunities, using memory, social communication, and keen scent detection. It does not remember a grudge. Instead, its movements reflect a network of habitual routes and potential food sources. Back at the burrow, a secondary risk emerges, not from predators, but from competition. Honey badger burrows sometimes attract attention from jackals, porcupines, or other animals seeking shelter. The scent of a recently used den can make it valuable real estate. The resident badger must maintain it not only as a nursery, but as contested underground space. She returns before full dark and reinforces the entrance, pushing soil outward with strong forelimbs. This simple act has multiple functions. It refreshes air pathways, masks scent trails, and adjusts tunnel width to favor her smaller body over larger intruders. Digging ability is one of the honey badger's most important survival tools, equal in value to strength or teeth. Far off, hyena vocalizations travel across the landscape. Contact calls between clan members coordinating movement and sharing information about carcasses or hunting opportunities. These sounds form the acoustic backdrop of many African nights. For the honey badger, they are signals to remain alert, not prompts for confrontation. The night deepens. Activity increases for countless species, from owls to rodents to nocturnal insects. The honey badger will need to resume foraging soon, timing her departures around sound, scent, and perceived safety. The spotted hyena may pass again, or it may focus entirely on new opportunities revealed by darkness. The question remains, how does the honey badger continue to meet the dual demands of feeding and protection, especially when potential competitors and predators share the same space and hours of activity? By late night, temperatures drop and movement becomes easier. This is when the honey badger must make a calculated choice: stay near the den or travel farther to reach productive foraging grounds. Field studies show that honey badgers can travel several kilometers in a single night when not encumbered by young. But mothers often shorten these ranges, trading food variety for proximity and safety. She emerges, pauses, and then moves with a deliberate ground-oriented gait. Honey badgers rely on scent to locate buried prey, insect nests, and small animals hiding in vegetation. Their diet flexibility is one reason they thrive across habitats, ranging from dry savannas to woodlands. Each dig, each overturned clod of soil, is part of a constant search for high-energy food that supports both her and her cubs. The den does not remain unvisited while she is away. Ecosystems are rarely static. Termites rebuild damaged mounds, rodents investigate burrow entrances, and occasionally another predator passes nearby without stopping. What protects the cubs in these moments is the structure of the burrow itself: narrow tunnels, hidden chambers, and the ability of young honey badgers to remain quiet when alone underground. Elsewhere, the spotted hyena encounters different opportunities: the distant remains of a carcass located through scent, or the cooperative movements of clan members around potential prey. Hyena's success in nature comes from flexibility. They scavenge efficiently, but also hunt effectively, particularly in groups. Because of this adaptability, they are not compelled to focus on a single den or animal for long periods. The earlier encounter with the honey badger becomes just one of many assessed possibilities across a wide territory. Toward dawn, the female honey badger returns, carrying the scents of soil, insects, and vegetation. She slows as she nears the den, scanning for disturbance. This vigilance is typical among small and mid-sized carnivores. Evidence of digging, fresh tracks, or new odors can signal that another animal investigated the site. Finding the entrance undisturbed, she slips below ground and settles again. The day will be spent largely in rest, conserving water and energy while temperatures rise outside. For species living in arid and semi-arid environments, daily rhythms are as important as any physical trait. Yet the broader challenges remain unchanged. She must continue to defend the den, build her cubs' strength, and navigate a landscape shared with larger carnivores. The hyena, too, will continue its nightly circuits, occasionally intersecting with the same territory. The story now turns to how young honey badgers grow, learn to forage, and eventually travel beyond the safety of the den, all while living among apex scavengers and predators that dominate the savanna. Weeks pass, marked not by dramatic battles, but by routine, careful foraging trips, quiet days underground, and slow development of the young. Honey badger cubs grow gradually, opening their eyes, strengthening their limbs, and eventually beginning to follow the mother short distances outside the den. Learning in this species is based on observation and repetition. The mother exposes her young to new foods, new scents, and new terrain step by step. With growth comes movement. The family shifts dens periodically, a common behavior among burrowing carnivores. Changing locations helps reduce parasite buildup, avoid detection by other animals, and take advantage of fresher foraging areas. Each move is a logistical task, the mother guiding, encouraging, and sometimes carrying young through the landscape. The spotted hyena reappears occasionally in the broader territory, as expected of a ranging carnivore that patrols large home areas. Sometimes it passes close without stopping. Sometimes it pauses to investigate scents before continuing on. The earlier standoff is not a singular story to either species. It is one of many brief interactions that shape how space is shared. As the cubs grow stronger, their dependence on the den decreases. Mobility becomes the primary defense. Young honey badgers eventually learn the same combination of traits displayed by their mother: digging skill, defensive bites when necessary, and confidence in using burrows as protection rather than open confrontation as a goal. The landscape remains the constant teacher. Seasonal rains change vegetation, insect abundance shifts, and prey availability rises and falls. Through it all, honey badgers and hyenas continue to coexist, sometimes intersecting, often simply passing through the same environment at different times of day or night. The initial encounter, the hyena backing away from the den after persistent defensive bites, fits a broader pattern in nature. Most conflicts end with assessment and withdrawal rather than prolonged fighting. Survival favors individuals that balance boldness with caution, risk with reward, effort with safety. Behavioral and ecological analysis, the larger lesson. This story highlights how different species succeed using very different strategies. Honey badgers rely on flexible diets, strong digging ability and den use, defensive persistence rather than speed, parental care that prioritizes safe refuge. Spotted hyenas rely on cooperative social structure, powerful jaws suited for a wide range of food sources, extensive nightly travel and risk-reward assessment, adaptability as both hunters and scavengers. Neither species is fearless or aggressive in a human sense. Their choices emerge from evolutionary pressures, protecting offspring, avoiding injury, conserving energy, and maximizing survival odds over time. Importantly, these interactions also maintain ecological balance. Honey badgers control populations of rodents, insects, and other small animals. Hyenas clean the landscape of carcasses and help regulate herbivore populations through predation. By sharing territory and resolving most encounters without major injury, they both continue fulfilling roles that support healthy ecosystems. The honey badger keeps biting, the hyena finally backs off, and life around the den continues. There is no dramatic finale in nature, only ongoing adaptation. The episode reminds us that survival is often about resilience, calculated risk, and knowing when to stand firm or move on. Across Africa's savannas, countless interactions like this happen every day, usually unseen. Each one shapes who thrives, who moves, and how species coexist in complex landscapes. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild, subscribe for more real animal stories. Leave a comment below. What part surprised you most?